the corn watcher. You ever driven through those endless cornfields at dusk? The kind where the sky turns purple and the stalks seem to whisper your name when the wind moves just right? That's where this story starts. In a small town called Harrow's End, population 1,200 and dropping fast. The kind of place where the sign on Main Street's been shot at so many times, you can't tell if it says welcome or help. The air smells like soil and diesel fuel. The nights are quiet, too quiet, except for the soft rustle of corn in the wind. And me, I'm just an ordinary guy. Eddie Langford, 41, father of two, assistant manager at the local feed store. I coach Little League, mow the lawn on Sundays, and try not to think too hard about how my life's been stuck in the same loop for the past 20 years. My biggest problem used to be keeping the rats out of the grain silo. Until last summer, it started small, a feeling like the cornfields were watching. Not the people, not really, just me. I'd walk out behind the store after closing, and there'd be this low sound, almost a sigh, coming from the rows. The kind of sound you feel in your chest before you hear it. Sometimes when the wind died, I could swear the stalks leaned toward me, ever so slightly, as though listening. Old man Perkins, he used to own the land out past County Road 7, once told me that corn remembers things. Said every harvest, every secret buried beneath it stays whispering in the roots. I laughed back then, but the thing about Harrow's End is, you stop laughing after dark, and on the night everything changed. The wind stopped completely. It started simple. The corn grew wrong that year, taller, thicker, like it was feeding on something more than soil. The farmers blamed the weather, said the rain came too heavy, the sun too hot, but I knew weather didn't make things breathe. One night I walked out to the edge with a flashlight, the beam jittering across the rows. The air was still, too still, but underneath that quiet I heard it, soft, wet, rhythmic. Inhale, exhale, like the field itself was alive. Then came the disappearances. First was old Mr. Kemp. He'd been out tending his irrigation pumps before dawn. They found his truck still running, headlights slicing through the mist, driver's door hanging open. The corn around the path was bent backward as if something large had pushed through it. No blood, no footprints, just the smell, metallic like pennies and rot. A week later, the Morgan kid vanished. Went out after his dog, Buddy. Sweet boy, 11, maybe 12. They found the leash tangled in the stalks, stretched so tight it left grooves in the dirt. The dog came back the next morning, whimpering and covered in dust, but the boy never did. By then I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every night from my porch I saw it, a figure standing in the corn, too tall, too still, always in the same spot, like it was waiting for me to notice. My wife begged me to leave it alone, said I was scaring the kids, that it was just shadows and nerves. But curiosity's a disease, and I was too far gone. I needed to know. So I set up a trail cam, strapped it to the fence post facing the rows. I left it running all night, didn't sleep a wink. When I checked it the next morning, the footage started ordinary, a still shot of endless stalks swaying in the wind. Then at 2:13 a.m., everything went still. Not a single leaf moved. And then, frame by frame, the corn began to lean. First one row, then the next. Like a wave spreading outward, they were all turning, every stalk, every leaf, facing the camera, facing me. 3 nights later, sleep wouldn't come. The house groaned under the wind, my wife murmuring in uneasy dreams beside me. But I was wide awake, pulse hammering, because outside, through the glass, I heard it again. That voice, low, rough, human. Eddie. It was closer this time, so close it fogged the pain. I couldn't stay inside. You ever have that feeling when fear isn't enough to stop you, only move you? I grabbed the flashlight, shoved my feet into my boots, and stepped out into the cold. The air was heavy, thick like syrup. The corn swayed, but there was no wind. Each stalk creaked against the next like bones grinding in a joint. My beam of light cut through them, and that's when I saw it. A shape standing between the rows. Man-shaped, but wrong. Too tall, too thin. Its skin looked like peeled husk, pale and papery, and its eyes. God, those eyes. Wet, glistening like freshly turned soil after rain. It didn't walk. It folded forward, each step making that dry rustle that fills your head until you can't think. And in one long, fingered hand, it held something shiny. My trail cam, the one I'd left out by the fence. It tilted its head, like it was curious. Then in a voice that sounded like wind through 1,000 leaves, it whispered, "You've been watching. Now be watched." I took a step back. The corn behind me shifted. Another step. More movement. The field was alive now, breathing with me, through me. I turned to run, but the earth gave way beneath my feet. The ground split. Not cracked, not broke, open like a mouth. And I was falling. The corn closed over me, stalks twisting like fingers, pulling me down into the damp dark. The flashlight flicker died. All around, I heard it, the sound of whispering. Hundreds of voices speaking through dirt. My name, over and over. Eddie. Something cold brushed my face. The smell of soil and blood filled my lungs. And then silence. Utter, perfect silence. Above me, the hole sealed shut. And in that final flicker of dying light, I realized the thing in the field didn't want to be seen. It wanted company. I woke up at dawn, face down in the dust, lungs burning with the taste of soil. The sky above me was gray and endless, the kind of pale that comes just before sunrise, that strange hour when the world still isn't sure if it's alive or not. My clothes were torn to ribbons, soaked through with mud. My skin, God help me, was laced with thin red welts, twisting up my arms like vines. When I brushed at them, they didn't flake off. They moved. Tiny, thread-like roots burrowed shallow beneath the skin, pulsing faintly, as though the earth still had a hold on me. The sheriff found me an hour later, Sheriff Danner, an old friend. He squinted at me over his mustache like I just crawled out of a hole in his sanity. "What the hell happened to you, Eddie?" I told him what I could. The thing in the corn, the hole, the whispering. His face stayed still the whole time, polite and pitying. When I was done, he sighed and said maybe I'd fallen asleep drunk in the fields. Heat stroke, maybe. Hallucination. Then he mentioned the trail cam. Said a farmhand found it 30 miles east, out past the county line. Battery dead, memory card wiped spotless, no prints, no signs of tampering, like it had never recorded anything at all. My wife didn't say much when I came home. She just looked at me, really looked, and I could tell she saw something new in me, something that didn't belong. That night, she slept with the kids in their room. The days passed, but I couldn't shake it. The roots in my arms faded to scars, but when I ran my fingers over them, I swore I could feel them pulse, faintly, like a heartbeat under the surface. And then came the whispers again. Soft, faint, brushing through the screens at night. My youngest Emily called from her bed last week. "Daddy," she said, voice trembling, "who's that man by the fence?" I looked outside. The corn swayed though there was no wind. And there at the edge of the field, something tall and pale, half hidden among the stalks, watching, waiting. Now I keep the curtains closed. Always. Daylight or dark, they stay shut. I moved my bed away from the window after I started waking up to that soft tapping, like fingertips brushing the glass. It's quieter now, most nights, but sometimes when the wind dies, I can still hear the stalks shifting outside. Not rustling, moving, like something walking through them, slow and deliberate. I don't go near the fields anymore. The feed store's boarded up, the sign half buried in dust. Folks say the soil's gone strange, too rich, too dark. The corn grows higher every year, thick as walls, green like wet moss. And when harvest comes, the town loses someone else. Always one. Always near the edge of the field. No one talks about it. They've learned not to. Sheriff Danner retired early, says he's tired of finding empty cars with warm engines and open doors. But every autumn, he drives past the corn and doesn't look. None of us do. I thought I'd escaped that night. Thought whatever lived out there let me go. But lately, I'm not so sure. Sometimes when I wash my hands, I see something dark under my nails. Not grease, not dirt, soil, damp and red as clay. And when I sleep, I dream I'm underground, eyes open, watching the roots grow around me like fingers closing into a fist. Maybe I never came back from that field. Maybe Harold's End just thinks I did. So if you ever find yourself driving through this town, that lonely stretch between the corn and the sky, keep your eyes on the road. Don't slow down. Don't roll down your window. And for God's sake, don't look at the corn, because sometimes it looks back. If you enjoyed The Corn Watcher, don't forget to like this video. It really helps the channel grow and gets these stories out to more listeners. Subscribe for daily tales just like this one and share it with someone who loves a good scare. Thanks for listening and for watching. There's another story waiting for you right there on your screen. I'll see you back here tomorrow, if the corn lets me.